Hello, friends. My name is host Eric, and I'd like to play microphone checking. Hopefully, I'm getting some microphone levels. Microphone checking. Okay. Well, anyway, my name's host Eric, and I'm here to say I'm live streaming because it's Tuesday, and I'm sitting here and feeling a little bit bored. So I thought I'd kick in the old live stream, which affords me the opportunity to socially engage with people in a way that's, I guess, satisfying. Went to a funeral today for Abraham's mother, and that sort of thing that makes you reflect upon mortality and other matters. FEFI, SI. Of course, I drew connections between a couple of other funerals that I've been to in my life. I haven't been to a whole lot of them. And I remember the chapel that we were in was very reminiscent of the chapel that they held my grandmother's funeral ceremony in as well. And it's a weird little chapel in Forest Lawn. It's got this like American Revolutionary War stuff in there. I guess it gives it a timeless feel. Forest Lawn in Covina Hills. It's a nice cemetery and good place to have a funeral. But the thing is, the funeral was entirely in Spanish. Kimberly couldn't understand any of it, and I didn't make much of an effort to understand what was being said. I could probably piece together some of it if I concentrated hard, but my Spanish isn't that good. So it was a little bit boring, I guess, but we just went there to make a show of support for Abraham, and I did get to see him, and we accomplished what we wanted to on FE grounds. You know, he being an ESFJ, I feel confident about predicting his response to my making an appearance, and that it would be important to him and stuff. So I just did, because my FE third slot, and Kim was guiding that as well, saying with her FE second slot, and it just seemed like a good payoff for time invested in terms of making impacts, you know, seeming not so much like a self-absorbed asshole, you know. That can be a little bit self-absorbed sometimes. And it's important to attend to those perceptions as well as the realities of them. So that was kind of a heavy thing to do, going to a funeral. And as I often have in the past, I walked around the graveyard during part of the time we were waiting for the ceremony to end. Again, it was not a super long ceremony, but because it was entirely in Spanish, you know, I Kimberly felt strange when the part when you're supposed to repeat after them, but we weren't able to repeat after them, you know. So anyhow, I went outside, looked at the gravestones for a little bit, and I saw one that said somebody would have been born in 1949, died in 1969, and it said loving husband, father, son, brother. So this guy was 20 years old. He was married. He had a kid. and he died. That one struck me as like, you know, of course you don't know any of the story about what happened or anything like that. I see some of those gravestones in there. You see a few of them where people get close to 100, but I didn't see any 100-year-olds. And that's kind of weird to think about. It's like, what are your chances of making it to 100? Pretty damn slim. How many people make it to 100 statistically out of, how many people out of 1,000 people make it to age 100? What percentage of people live to 100? What are the odds of living to 100? Less than 1% of the population makes it. You got a less than 1% chance of making it to 100 years old. That's pretty rare, right? I mean, that would be consistent with what I saw in the graveyard. I must have looked at 100 gravestones, and I didn't see a single person who got to 100. I think the oldest I saw was 97. So it's kind of sobering, and most of the people, probably the majority of the gravestones showed people in their 70s, late 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm 47. So, yeah, that's true. MBT, I guess. There's always a possibility of a black swan coming in and saving the day just in time to save your ass, That's certainly a possibility. I feel that Enneagram, you can ask anything you want, I don't care. I feel the reality of aging. So I know what it's like now, and I didn't know what it was like for a long time. I basically have been very resilient to my kind of hard living, and and I more or less got away with everything for a number of years, and I didn't really feel the aging. I feel it now. I experience it in a couple of different ways. I feel it in my elbows. My elbows are sore. I feel it in just the amount of sleep I need and just my general resilience. What type is Marlon Brando? I have no idea. I'm a type 1-4 in the Enneagram, which is called the Thug. You're type 14, you mean? Oh. I didn't know that type until today. Type 14. It's a rare one. That's a rare type, yeah. Basically just somebody who goes around and beats people with clubs all the time. I know this sounds silly, but I was wondering, does a person's breathing pattern affect their articulation and their speech? Like, if you pause more to take a breath more often, would it improve it? Well, the thing is, it's a choice whether you want to pause more and go more slowly or whether you want to include filler words. And you have to choose to accept the pause and the slowness if you want to eliminate filler words from your language. Sometimes you aren't going to need to pause and slow down because things are going to be pretty well articulated in your head before you say them, or they're coming out real smooth and easy and everything. And in that case, you're not going to have a lot of filler words, and you won't have to go slow or pause very much. But if you're trying to be careful and cautious in what you're saying, and you don't want to fill up the space with ums and ahs and hums and whatevers, then you're going to have to be willing to leave some empty space while you're pausing and trying to figure out what you're going to say next. Do you play any video games? And if so, which ones? I used to play SimCity 2000 back in the day when the first Well, I mean, I played video games since I was a little kid. I played Ultima. I played Bard's Tale. I played Wizardry. I played lots of games back in the day that were on the old kind of floppy disks. And then when I got a little older and we got more to be like regular computers instead of like beginning time computers, I played SimCity 2000. Like, I just loved the shit out of it. I couldn't get enough of it when I was about 19 or 20. One Easter break, I came home from college and I just played that the entire time. And then when I got a little older, I started playing NCAA football on consoles. Like, I also played like Civilization and shit. But on the console, I started playing NCAA football, which I liked a lot and played for a number of years. I had a PS2, played NCAA football on it. But then it got killed by a lawsuit, and there was no more college football. And so then I started playing Madden for a while, and now I don't play really any video games. Have you seen the reprehensible Gillette commercial? If so, which take? No, I haven't seen it. I don't know what it is. You sit a lot. Guess joints will last longer with accurate movement. I sort of sit a lot. I mean, the thing is, I'm rather rough on my body sometimes. I do a lot of manual labor around here too, and like I'm carrying the plants in and out up the top of the roof of the garage here. Some, these ladders. I go up to the attic, carry shit up in there all the time, and do various projects. If Kimberly had her way, that's all I would do is I'd go around and move. She'd go, move that over there now. Now dig a hole here. Now, yeah. So I'm pretty, but it's like I have to move a lot more slowly now in general. How does fifth slot SE manifest differently between ENFP and ENTP? That's there is no fifth slot SE for either of those two types. It's eighth slot. So how does it manifest differently between the two? I think ENFPs are more likely to work on concrete projects that involve more concrete kinds of SE. So you'll see ENFP like Irish Whiskey, who made these like big metal clamp things, and that was his project he was working on. That's TESE, and then TISE is more like, hey, I successfully managed to push live stream because it's easier now. When it was a little bit harder, I never managed to live stream. A physiotherapist recently told me that most people do too little stretching during daily life. I definitely do too little stretching. I started doing a little bit more. Thank you, Matthew. The cap is powerful. You're right. It makes a powerful statement. It says, my head is as surfaceless, as featureless as it can be right now. It's dark and featureless, like your soul. Thank you, Joel Miller. I appreciate that. It's very considerate of you. Oh, my P and my P. What a good kitty. What is the main thing you are looking to achieve for your channel? The teaching, community, entertainment. For you, what is the most important in terms of my contribution? I don't know what's most important in terms of my contribution. People take away from it whatever they take away from it. I guess I would be most pleased to know that I entertained. And my goal is fame, widespread fame, eventually becoming president of the United States. We're frustrated by the slow pace of it. But, you know, I got to remember that things take time to build momentum, and I can do a better job of putting shit together and presenting things more uniformly and more purposefully and stuff. I'll never be entirely purposeful, but I can do just in general a better job of presentation. I've been doing a good job of better thumbnails of late, and that I think is important. I just need to kick it into gear. It's like for a long time, my priority with the channel was just archival more than anything else. It was like, this is my autobiography. This is my life. I'm just putting up whatever I feel like it. And, you know, that's done some damage to the capacity of the channel to grow, I think, because of the lack of editorial discretion some of the time. And that's just sort of how it goes, though. It's like I was prioritizing something different. Now I feel more inclined towards prioritize outcomes. How does 6-slot SI manifest between ISFP and ISTP differently? They have, you're right, 6-slot SI. Well, I would say that ISFP is probably a little more in tune with it because it's the same aspect as their dominant function, whereas it's the opposing aspect for ISTPs. So ISTPs, like ESTPs, they have this kind of ability to block out SI that's pretty effective. ISFPs, I think, though, their SI links somewhat to their FI, as it does for everybody, and I think they're more aware of that than ISTPs, and thus just generally probably take a little bit better care of themselves, and probably keep a little bit more of a simple and orderly space. ISTPs are pretty simple and orderly as well. What do I have to do to pull a Paris Hilton? Be a beautiful young woman? Isn't that what she did, basically? She was an attractive young woman who got on a reality show. Oh, sex tape. I thought that was Kim Kardashian who had the sex tape. Did Paris Hilton have one too? I bet if I made a sex tape with Paris Hilton, except probably not now. She has to be younger. Who's the new Kim Kardashian? Big tits McAss cheeks? Regardless, I think I would have to make a sex tape with somebody like that. You know, an attractive young woman. And then it probably wouldn't be me who got famous from it. It would be the attractive young woman. Unfortunately, people aren't as enthusiastic about seeing me have sex as they are about seeing an attractive young woman have sex. In general, as a general rule. I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there who just think that would be fantastic. But how SI and FI connect? Well, for me, SI is a stand-in for FI in a lot of ways. If I'm feeling comfortable and good physically and well-fed and well-rested and all that kind of stuff, then I'm usually in a pretty good mood and feeling pretty happy about things. Whereas when I start getting grumpy or start getting like, you know, fighty or just generally kind of like an asshole or whatever, then it's probably because I haven't gotten enough sleep and I've been on amphetamines for too long, and it's just like, okay, I gotta take a sleepy week. I mean, I never stay on them for more than about 2 weeks at a time, but I'm basically off them right now. I'm on a little bit of them today, or the tail end of being on a little bit of them. I didn't have any yesterday, but it's more like just attaining kind of normal functionality rather than being twacked out at all. So that's not answering the question. Hi, Hussein. To answer the question better, I think for people who are more FI conscious, or if they're FI and SI conscious, like INFP, you know, or ENFP, then you're going to see the two link and link pretty consciously. So INFP will probably be more likely to recognize when their own physical state of being is impacting their emotional state of being, and potentially vice versa as well, I guess. So too with ENFP, and I'm saying ISFP is more likely to be like that, even though they have the SI on the backside, because SI and FI both come from the physical. They're both native to the physical ecosystem. Maybe pulling over YT psychologists to improve their approaches regarding consistency with cognitive functions. This would bring more cognitive more into their fields awareness, possibly. Hi, Amy. Amy Camrath says, hi, Eric. I think you mentioned briefly that one function is a person's essence. Will you please elaborate on what you mean by that or believe about that? Well, I do think that's true. I think your dominant function is your essence or your program function, your basic nature, which is to say that people come in four basic kinds of people: actors, knowers, judgers, or interfacers. And it's true that those people behave fundamentally on different tracks. It's like when I'm interacting with Kimberly, her first order of business and about a lot of things in life, when she's not taking any kind of action especially, is to know in advance how something's going to turn out, how it turned out before, whether she should be, what she should worry about, what could go wrong, stuff like that. She's a knower. She's a knower first. I'm not a knower. I'm an ideator. So I go, well, here's some more possibilities. And she doesn't want to see how things play out, right? She doesn't like to particularly let things play out and see. She'd rather know in advance. And this is typical of all knowers, whether they're NI or SI. They approach life with the preconception that they can know things in advance and then make decisions accordingly. A bot is in the room? Maybe? Okay. It's your own worst enemy? No, you're battling, well, I guess you're battling your MBTI shadow, in the sense that your polar is what's causing you problems, Hussein. Is your polar SE. That's what you'll always be battling. You'll come up with lots of meanings and other words and stuff to avoid the fact that, or to try to get your brain around the fact that something that you can't really get your brain around, which is you got polar SE and you don't understand SE and doing shit, really. So that's what you're battling. That's what you'll always be battling as an INFP. Let's see. Did you know that Albert Einstein was offered to be president of Israel, but then turned it down because of his lack of social ability needed for the job? No, I didn't know that, but I won't turn it down. Thank you for your kisses, darling. I love you. I feel moisture in my tenders.
Leave your tenders in your drawers.
Okay. Why do ENTJs have better FE than ESTJs? Well, they only have better FE, I think. Well, I don't know. They might have better FE in general because they're trying to accomplish bigger things than ESTJs. ESTJs are trying to solve their node. ENTJs are trying to, like, node up in some regard. They're trying to be like, okay, well, I don't just want to be a good manager of this department. I want to be the CEO of the company, and I want this company to be about changing society in some way. And, like, they got big ideas, right? They got big NI, whereas ESTJs have straight up practical TESI. They don't have big ambitions like that. So I think that they need to have their bigger ambitions require them to have more polished FE because they're trying to accomplish things in a bigger node. And so it involves more different kinds of people and a more diverse set of criteria comprise what's a success result, you know? Could you provide any insight into how polar NI in the ESTJ versus polar TE in the INFJ would manifest differently? Well, polar NI in ESTJ and ESFJ, they have to do with not understanding things as absolutes. They just understand things as relatives. So I think it's fair to say that my ex-wife, my ESFJ ex-wife, probably made a mistake in leaving me. I don't think that she's determined in the aftermath of that it was there were a lot of better options out there than me for her. But I also think that NI Polar saves them from the realization of that reality after the fact. They just don't seem to understand the determinate truth of things. Like, a third slot NE user will be able to think of some reasons why it's just as good now as it was before for her, and she actually made a wise choice and whatever. They will come with some reasons, and that'll be the end of the exploration of the matter, really. They just don't quite get that sometimes a single answer, a single reason, and a single truth is the determinate one, and you have to come to terms with that, I have been told I don't grieve appropriately because I really don't express much. I have trouble with emotional displays conversation. Is that thinker asker is just a personal problem? I think it's it's hard to say what, like, some people might say I don't grieve appropriately either in certain contexts. They might say in other contexts that I do grieve appropriately. Like, I don't think anybody denied or doubted the legitimacy of my grieving the death of my dog, but I don't know. I would say that normally you expect a difficulty feeling grief in a majority of circumstances where there normally would be some grief to be representative of polar FI. But that's just one thought. Was options the reason she actually left you, though? The thing is, like, she left for supposedly weird reasons. And things like, I didn't want to go with her to a bunch of boring ass family events and stuff, like weddings and barbecues, and I was busy and I had other things to do and stuff. So,
it's not that simple area.
She didn't like that.
She didn't like that you weren't engaged with her as a couple.
Well, but the thing is,
exactly what she's talking about.
But here's the thing.
Exactly what you and
I absolutely was engaged with her as a couple. The difference is she wouldn't do this with me. She wouldn't sit here and have this conversation with me. You and I are at our best when we're engaging with each other as a couple in front of the camera, in my opinion, because it constrains both of us. Okay, Hambone, I absolve you from that schoolwork. You do not have to turn any of it in. Well, have you considered dampening them? Dampening them with the dew of your wetting agents? The dew of your saline? Dampen them with the dew of your saline, and then your tenders will be moist. That's an old aphorism. Grandma used to tell me that. Polar TE and IXFJ. Well, Magastar, that's something I don't really know anything about. Let me tell you instead about the Polar TE. Polar TE is an alignment with the world where you rely on collaboration with others to get things accomplished. So, I was trying to express to Kimberly earlier today as I was helping her with her Cricut project that I don't mind helping her with those things, and I don't mean to be impatient at all. If she wants to spend a long time picking a font, then I want her to do that. I want to enable the extent that I can, her to see her ideation realized as she wants to realize it, not some half-assed quick, approximation of it. So it's like almost a way of being where you don't think to try to figure shit out yourself, really. You look to other people to explain it to you or show you how to do it or do it for you. Okay, so what is a tender? Matthew asks, what's a tender? A tender is an emotion.
No.
It's a feeling / emotion. It's it links to preciousness. It's a feeling of precious adorableness. That's correct. Night chicken tenders and honey mustard is not your tenders, correct? Your tenders are it's related to phlogic. It's the fluctuations in your phlogical field. A fluctuation in your phlogical field is called a tender, and it conducts tenderness most effectively when moist. That's why it's important to dampen your tenders with saline in order to attain a proper moisture conductivity. Squishiness is one of the attributes that you can measure in a tender's moistness. It has squishiness and it has wetness. Those are two different qualities. So, I mean, something can be firm and wet, but something could also be squishy and wet. So, school is like a flower that is yet to be bloomed. What you should do is tell your teacher that instead of doing your homework, you had to learn about tenders, dampness, saline, moisture, all those things. Yeah, it's pretty juicy around here. It's pretty juicy. It's all about emotions and feelings and how we feel, precious delight in our significant others. When I look at Kimberly, I think in my heart, "Aw," like that, because that's pretty moist. It is moist as hell around here today in terms of the weather. We've been having a lot of rain for Southern California. We don't historically get that much rain around here. It's just like it was when Kimberly and I were kids, and it's very SI evocative for us. Some nuggets have the texture of a car tire. Well, car tire nuggets do. I don't know if you ever tried a car tire nugget before. But appropriately, such is the texture of a car tire nugget. So last live stream was too moist for Dan Klein. I'll keep that in mind. I'll try to dry things up. It's 100% here in Texas. Whatever it is, it's 100%. Doesn't even matter what it is. I'm excellent at bullshitting about nothing at all. I would love to see you with a fishbowl of words that you have to sell to us as something else. These fishbowl of words is not a fishbowl of words. How would you imagine a successful ENTP plus INFJ startup would operate? Well, very slowly. The INFJ doesn't do anything, and the ENTP gets dragged into laziness with the INFJ. They're hangout types. They're not really do types. ENTP and ESFJ are good do types because the ENTP feels the need to justify his presence with the ESFJ by doing things for some reason. And the ESFJ just sort of like sits there and takes guidance about what it is we're doing. So it's weird. I don't know. Is it still your opinion that most INFPs are female? I don't know. That was kind of a joke. When I said all INFPs are hot chicks, that was just kind of a joke. I don't really think that's the case necessarily, that most INFPs are girls. I looked into Model G.
All the ones in your dreams are, Eric.
A little bit. I mean, I'm not the most well-researched guy in the world, but if there's something in particular about it, there's some certain things about it that I tend to dismiss, like the way that the strength of the functions is not the same as the stacks. It's like the different way of numbering shit and stuff. I don't like that. Sorry, same for the ISFJ. Is that about let me see here. Last time you briefly mentioned your theory that perhaps INFJ being the result of childhood trauma, same for ISTJ. No, I don't think it's the same for, same for ISFJ. Yeah, I do think it's a similar thing for ISFJ with a different response. So if it were ISFJ, like my friend Dave Porter, he's an ISFJ whose father was very strict. And so I guess you would say that probably if the kind of bad parenting is more consistent, then you probably go to SI. And if it's less consistent, you probably go to NI. Because if it's less consistent, then you have to read the person. In other words, the person's changing their behavior a lot, and you have to learn to read them and determine how to control the person. If it's a regular kind of persistent same thing, then you come to trust your experience being a good guide for you in the past and the future, and you also learn to find satisfaction and fulfillment in your introverted sensing and being comfortable and being full and food and simple things like that. It is a little bit hot in here, so take off all of your clothes. Tell Kim I finally changed my sheets last night after hearing her wonderful advice. Isn't that good news, Kim?
Yes, thank you.
She appreciates it. Let's see. What about isms? Let's see. I was trying to explain something to an ENFP today, and she kept interrupting with illogical whataboutisms. Very frustrating. Well, ENFPs do sometimes do that. Does polar NE make it difficult for ISXP to socialize because they can't think of things to say? Yes. Well, it makes it difficult for ISTP in particular to socialize because they can't think of things to say, and they can't play along with verbal jokes that are kind of rolling. They can't riff along with people. They can't exchange instances of verbal sparring, really, and stuff like that. They tend to have a pretty straight ahead approach towards dealing with people. It can be considered brusque or inconsiderate. And ISFP probably has a little bit of negative time over because being feelers, they want to go out and party and kind of let's dance and smooch and stuff. Kind of like. Anna T asks, when are you getting married and will it be live online? Yes, it will be live online. When exactly it will be, I do not know.
Yeah, keep asking him.
What do you think about the cognitive functions test from IDR Labs? I don't know if I've taken it or not. I may have. There's this one cognitive function test out there that I like pretty well that I've taken. And I don't know if it's that one or not. Curtis says, do you think most rappers are NE pretending to be SE downs for marketing reasons? Really depends on how they rap. Rappers who rap more percussively and or like if they're very about the verbal gymnastics and the wordplay and stuff, then they're probably NE using. But not all rap is like that. Some rap is much more of a sound quality or a percussive element, and that'd be different. What do you think of sociotype.com? I don't know. I think it's garbage probably if it's the one I'm thinking of. There's one of those that's garbage. Thanks, Taylor. Thanks for coming in my hat. Matthew also admired it. That's two people coming in. This hat must be a good hat. I went to a funeral today. Kimberly said it was my most somber hat I had. What song moves me?
All of his.
What song moves me? That's a good question. Well, I would say that Joni Mitchell song that goes, "It's getting on Christmas, they're cutting down trees, they're putting up reindeer and singing songs of joy and peace. So I wish I had a river I could sail away on. Oh, I wish I had a river so long I would." You know that song. I don't know who died today.
Shit. We were just talking about her. Or maybe you and I weren't talking about her. Chamberlain.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Big Mac or Whopper? Big Mac. I prefer a Big Mac over a Whopper. ISFJ would look to past experience and make those predictions, and INFJ would look to their ideational model of their relationship and make predictions. Right. That's exactly right. MBTI gifts. Mighty Angus or nothing? Mighty Angus. Oh, wait, that wasn't a question. So I think all types are traumatized, but some types take it extra hard, such as FE users who so much value harmony. See, I don't know if FE users really... Well, I guess there's a value of harmony. There's a value of people getting along and good social interactions and stuff. But, I mean, I think people experience different levels of trauma, for sure. Carol Channing. So it's like, I experienced some trauma, for sure, but not that much, you know, and not at home. I didn't experience any trauma at home. You know, I experienced a little bit of bullying, but it wasn't really that traumatic, all things considered. And I responded, I think, generally pretty appropriately to it. Victim romance style seems most dramatic. I don't know what the victim romance style is. Well, I guess, I mean, I do if you're talking about Socionics romance style. Yeah. So there's, according to Socionics, there's 4 romance styles: infantile, nurturer, victim, and what's the other one? Brute or whatever. I don't know. I guess I think they're sort of natural to the types, but Kimberly's not very nurturing. What's Host Zachary up to these days? I have no idea. If you give an indica or hybrid, all 3, I'll probably take the indica. How much do you value your own self-growth? Fair amount. Do you think improving your own overall efficiency human could contribute to higher quality of life? Yes. It does interest me. I'll try to be more efficient. I'm in the process of trying to be more efficient. I get more frustrated when I feel like I'm wasting time than I used to, and I try to be more purposeful in my actions in general. No, I don't like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, although I do like a couple of their songs. Yes, Amy Camera, that's true. In the depths of my psyche, there's a real little FI. There's more than just one hot INFP lady in there. There's a whole bevy of them. Yeah, I find their lead singer poor. You know, a poor compliments the rest of the band. It's a shame they didn't get a good singer. I don't like that. I like some. I do like a couple of their songs. I like a couple of songs and the way that guy does them. By and large, it's just terrible. I do like the one that goes, "The city I live in, lonely as I am." That's a good song. Yes, and I believe that to be the case. The reason, I'm always eating, I eat quite a bit, and I'm not chubby, is because I'm an ENTP. I think the action types, but more so even the ENTPs probably than the ESTPs, have very high metabolism. So the fattest I've ever been is like 185 pounds, and I'm 6'4". And when that was the case, it was because I had a huge beer belly. I was drunk. Together we cry. Yeah, I think it needs to be tend to be more. Well, I mean, it's just a hypothesis. I don't know if it's true or not universally or consistently, but it seems to correlate that a lot of NTPs are tall and skinny. I mean, some matters of attention are more high energy than others. It's pretty well established that NE requires a lot of energy as a matter of attention. Right, when I was 6'4". Am I afraid of them? They're recovery people? No. No, I agree, LJ. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you all that you should ascribe to this connection and believe that it's the case. I'm not saying you should use it to type people, for sure. And I'm not saying I'm sure about anything, but there seems to be a correlation. It would make some sense that functions that are more high energy consumption functions in terms of attentional energies would require more energy from their body. But I don't know. What do I look like? A physician? I'm a metaphysician. Yes, I have legal cannabis in my state. Kill, marry, fuck, ENTJ, ESFP, ISFP. Well, I'll marry the ENTJ, fuck the ISFP, and kill the ESFP if I have to. I'm compelled. Okay, so are there sexual styles transcendable or permanent to type? I don't know. Maybe. My sexual style is
Taylor, move your.
Was that a cat or a baby panda bear? It was your mom's face.
It's a baby panda bear.
This hat is my increased success hat. Wear it daily. I will. Thank you. I'll wear it daily. I'll wear it proudly. I'll wear it gaily. I'll wear it doubtily. All of those things. It'll be an exciting time for us all. Everyone will go, wow, look at that hat. And I'll go, I know. That's what I'm saying. This hat, right? And everyone will be like, yeah, totes. So... sub as. Let me see what other questions we have up here that I may have missed. If you're familiar with the concept of bike shedding, do you think any types are uniquely more or less likely to engage in it? Bike shedding? I am utterly unfamiliar with the concept of bike shedding, although I've got several possible interpretations of it. One, it could be the compulsion to shed your bike, that is to get rid of it because you're too much encumbered by a bike. it could be the inclination to put bikes in sheds. It could be bikes.
Why don't you just ask?
Well, I don't know. Yes, I am. Well, I'm not role playing. I am a 1920s paperboy. In between time travels forward to do this channel, I go back to my original role as the 1920s paperboy. What's the best way to distinguish between an Enneagram type 5 or 4? Well, if they are going to, if you're just going to type them as either a 5 or a 4, and that's it, you're not going to do any tri-type shit, right? Then, I mean, you have to find out whether they're more interested in being individualistic or whether they're more interested in being an understanding. A shed composed of bikes is a third possible way to understand that. You're right. Thank you, Stephen Lewis, for saving the day. My NE failed me in that particular instance. And golfer, detective, author, or paperboy. I could be a paper delivering author / detective who plays golf. ESTJs are lame. We'd have to kick their asses constantly because they're so rude. Well, they're a little bit rude. They can be a little socially inept, a little stiff. They're a little stiff. Let's not deny that. Kimberly's often frustrated with the stiffness of my father. And you mentioned improving your thumbnails earlier. There's free design templates on. Well, but I mean, I want my thumbnails to be reflective of what the video is about. I mean, my thumbnail making isn't very difficult. It's pretty easy. It's pretty fast. I'm pretty satisfied with the approach I got. Okay, well, I do design them. I design my thumbnails as it stands. Right? I just use GIMP. It's not difficult. With the type police stuff, it's very straightforward process. I take a screenshot of the person video with their face in it. I look around for one where they're looking at the camera, ideally. And, well, I meant social or social stiffness, Taylor. And then I put the layer with the badge on it, and then I put the word down. I mean, the type, and then I change letters. Pretty straightforward. And then I export it and upload.
I thought about it, Taylor, but I was only going to get in trouble.
ISFJ males socially awkward in spite of their FE in unfamiliar, unpredictable situations.
No.
Not necessarily, no. They can be a little bit like, okay, this is too much for me. But have I noticed an increase in views when the thumbnails are better? It's hard to say. It's difficult to say because you're never uploading the same video with different thumbnails and testing it out, right? But what I have noticed is that thumbnails have an impact on whether I click on a video or not. And so I try to, I mean, the thumbnails better thumbnails have correlated with better views, but it's not clear as to what exactly the cause of that is. Views gone up when I started doing type police. But regardless, I'm convinced that thumbnails do improve, better thumbnails improve viewership because I'm convinced they convince me to click on them sometimes. So that's reason enough for me to believe it. What's the best way for someone to figure out the type on their own? I don't know. Wave your hands around. Put 8 different letters in a bag. Pull them out one at a time. First 4 you get, that's type 0. That's a tough question to answer. It depends what kind of person you are entirely as to how you would go about typing yourself. You can take the tests online and stuff, but those aren't really very reliable. And, any kind of self-reporting thing is going to be a little bit unreliable. I think, you need to, but it depends what kind of type you are. Certain types are more objectively self-critical than others. D-Shy, you got 6 different types. Well, that sort of result is typical for like an INFP or an ENFP. INFPs and ENFPs get results all over the map because, first of all, they can't decide how to answer these questions because none of them are linked to their calculi by a real-world experience. So it's hard to say what they prefer if they don't have an actual example in front of them. If they don't in real life, it's just a test question. So I would suggest that if you're really having that much trouble typing yourself, look at the NFPs. What's the biggest difference between ISFJ and INFJ? I mean, ISFJs are a lot more grounded. INFJs are a lot more metaphysical. ISFJs, for somebody who's very metaphysical like me and tends to get stuck in his head and stuck about ideas and neglect physical realities in favor of my preferred reality of storytelling and stuff like that, I have a tendency to, I definitely need, I definitely need somebody to ground me. And ISFJ will ground me in a way that INFJ won't. INFJ needs people to sit around and sort of marvel at ideas together for endless periods of time without really accomplishing a whole hell of a lot. What would it be like having polar TI for an ENFP? Well, it just means that they have trouble judging things except via their feelings. When they come upon a question in which they have an attachment to, so if it's a question about them, they're attached to the question, the answer one way or the other. I prefer to be meow over meow. Well, that's their tool function. That's how they know. That's how they make decisions about things, is to know how they feel about it. So as a consequence, they're not reliable at all for self-reporting tests. Title and thumbnail matter a lot. Eric typically doesn't do those things well, though. Historically, I haven't done them well. I'm doing a better job now. I'm trying a little harder. And I still am not an expert on it or anything. How many dogs equal 1 cat? I think it's actually 2 cats equal 1 dog. Have you typed Officer Red? I think she's an ESFJ. Do you think values are formed by feelings? Depends on where it is in your stack. I mean, we each get our values. Our values tend to correlate with our attentional manners. And, yeah, I know, Matthew. We each tend to correlate with our attentional manners values. So it's like I'm going to implicitly value originality and creativity in my own being. In other words, I'm going to try to be saying things that are original or creative, or doing things that are original, creative as a being by nature. That's an implicit value of sorts. I'm going to use as a tool function logical consistency, so I'm going to value that as a communication metric. If other people aren't communicating with me using the same tool function or letting me successfully use mine, I'll get very frustrated. The third function I'm going to value it as an absolute value for me, which is other people's approval and affirmation. Fourth function is going to be seeking. So it's like, where are your values coming from? Well, if you mean your actual personal values, like I'm describing, then you're talking about values like that. If you mean some sort of general statement of affirmation that you ascribe to, like, well, I value kindness, or I value justice, or something. Well, I don't really think those statements are particularly meaningful unless you link them to particular. Yes, that's true, Taylor. What's a dead giveaway of an NI, Dom? There aren't any dead giveaways because INTJs and INFJs display a lot differently. What type is Negan from The Walking Dead? I've never seen that show. Thank you, ENTP Mastermind. That's a good idea. Just name them video 1, video 2, etc. My ISTJ partner grounds me as well, sometimes too much for my liking. Well, I mean, that's going to be a constant battle between SI Dom and NE Dom. If you're an ENFP, I don't know if you are or not, but I don't remember. But between me and Kim, there's an ongoing sort of struggle between the familiarity and reliability of knowing and the unfamiliarity, unreliability, but possibility of ideation. Let's see. Yeah, Power Red Bull. It's true. I've never been very, very purposeful about marketing. I have been pretty good about branding shit. Like I brand the shit out of everything, but you know, that's different. You know, it's like it's a combination of a lot of different factors. It's what Taylor's talking about, thumbnails and titles and stuff is hugely important. So is editorial discretion, putting up content that's lean and a good video, you know. And ultimately, the videos that are going to succeed are the ones that both entice people to try it out and succeed in keeping their attention for a good period of time. YouTube looks to watch time for its understanding of what's a successful video. Sorry, bike shedding is the notion that the more trivial a matter is, the more passionate people are with regard to their opinions on the subject, i.e. people arguing about toilet paper directionality. Well, I would say that that's, as a general rule, not true. That people don't become more passionate the more trivial an issue is. I think there may be some instances of people being very passionate about very trivial matters, but I don't think that that works as a general rule. Yeah, Walter Wiseman. It needs such a thing, obviously. A meta framework over the content that organizes it for better accessibility. Ideally, it would be a platform that additionally integrated the raw room videos and the people there so that it would link each of the videos to each of the people in it and stuff like that. Well, it's a complicated architecture, though, as to what would ideally be the case. And I'm basically talking about Magic Skyfriend, which is this thing that ideally would both record everything and classify everything and transcribe everything and place it along various continuums of meaning making that are defined and yada yada yada. But it's complicated architecture. It's I just don't have the energy to deal with that right now. The first time I saw TWP, because I had no clue what was going on, there was no real intro. I had no clue who these people were mentioned. I had no clue who was what. Yeah. Is there an MBTI reason you know that would make an ISTP dislike or be annoyed by an INTJ? Well, let's see. I mean, it would be the TE tool function that would interfere with. I mean, the INTJ would countervalue TI, which is the ISTP's dominant function. The ISTP wouldn't like that. What MBTI books would you recommend? I don't have any to recommend. I just say read Exciting Tables and Words About Human Personality, which I wrote and is on my blog, which is called riceassrest.blogspot.com. Rice Ass-Rest is an anagram of my name, Eric Strauss. Yeah, I don't have the wherewithal to do that myself. ISTPs are FE seeking and INTJ is FE polar. There you go. There's another reason. Thank you, MJ. That's a good one as well. Is branding really that important, though? It depends on your goals, I suppose. You have to ask yourself what kind of people you may end up attracting. Well, I mean, branding is branding. It does its job of getting your brand in people's heads, regardless of whatever else. Whether they actually end up enjoying the media or not, I mean, there's nothing I can control about that. It's like I'm making media that I hope is both genuine and entertaining and informative and whatever other things people are looking for, because I want my media to be liked and popular. That's my primary reason for it. So, but additionally, I have other interests in making media, some of which are autobiographical or self-discovery or self-development. I kind of feel like I didn't give as much attention to LJ's question about how important self-improvement is to me as I could have there. It's medium important. It's like I do want to become a better, more realized person, and I also recognize that that's not as glamorous as it sounds sometimes. That sometimes it's about going to bed earlier, and it's about simple stuff. So Sheila W says, "Hi Kim, how's it going tonight? Did you guys kiss and make up?"
Probably a few times.
We have our battles, but you know. I don't know. We butt heads a lot, and I get frustrated. She gets frustrated. We also spend a lot of time together. You know, it's like that's a relevant factor as well. It's like when you see each other as frequently as we do, spend as much time with each other as we do, then you're gonna have more headbutting than you might in other contexts. Goals and whiteboards, the road to success. Yes. Thank you, Curtis. That is road to whiteboard. What's MBTV? Another MBTI channel? It used to be. It's not anymore. I really dislike when people have really great ideas and hand them over to me because they know I'll figure out how to make sure they can have them. Why do people feel to take responsibility for their own ideas? Well, I mean, it depends what kind of really great idea people have. People often come to me and say, you should do this with the channel or whatever. And I usually go, well, I have a limited amount of energy to devote towards things. If they're telling me, here's a great idea of mine that I want you to implement, I'm like, I got way too many of my own ideas I can't implement. I can't implement your idea for you. If SI is provided to ENFP by his or her wealthy lifestyle, would you still recommend ISFJ rather than INFJ as their romantic partner? Yes, because SI can't be provided to ENFP by his or her wealthy lifestyle. SI is an ongoing choice to remember to pay attention to things like how you're sitting. Like my foot's going to sleep right now because I'm sitting like that for too long. My butt's going to sleep. It's an attentional manner, right? So it's like you have to pay attention to that stuff. No matter how supported you are by a wealthy lifestyle, you're not gonna pay attention to that stuff yourself, and you're not gonna want to go to bed unless you've got this sort of grounding ISFJ around. What's the best way to identify the polar function? How does it relate to the inferior? The polar better relates to the tool. The polar is the other kind of the tool function. So if you've got one action function at the tool function, then your polar is the other action function. So if you're SE tool, you're NE polar. If you're NE tool, you're SE polar. Same with judging. If you're TI tool, then you're FI polar. And if you're FI tool, you're TI polar. Keep in mind, when I talk about judging function, I'm talking about TI, FI. TE and FE are interface functions. If you're TE tool, you're FE polar, and vice versa. So you got action, judging, knowledge, NI and SI go together, and interface. And whatever one is whatever function is tool, the other one, that kind of function is polar. So the reason for that is if you're always utilizing the tool function a certain manner of attention, then the alternative way to accomplish that same move, because if you think about moves as being put, get, and receive information, put being action, get being judging, and receive being knowledge, then an interface doing a little bit of all three, then you understand that if I'm using this tool function of TI, I mean, I'm approaching every question by jettisoning an interested calculus in favor of a disinterested calculus. That makes me essentially blind to the interested calculus that FI is. So that's how they link. I'm always tired, so I'm used to that. I never seem to get bored. Constantly tired. Cam and I are a lot tired as well. We sleep a lot. Why are there so many mistyped INFJs? Everybody wants to be an INFJ, and a lot of tests will, if you want to get a lot of people to take your test and be happy with it and suggest to other people they take the test, then, and have them be a type that seems glamorous and exciting and intuitive and special, And so they just can go with what the first test says, or they read the type description to decide they're INFJ and then see confirmation of it. And I agree with you. As a real life experience, INFJ is not a glamorous type to be. It just seems like a good character to be. If you're thinking about characters in terms of the way that they interface with the world and the way that other people react to them and what they can do and how they're perceived, then INFJ would seem to be like a good type to be, because you're not actually experiencing it, right? If you're actually experiencing it, you realize that it's probably kind of a neurotic type to be that that's in my mind a little too concerned or too aware of all the social dynamics of everything. Like, it's not a type I'd necessarily want to be. I don't doubt that INFJs are actually rare. I think real INFJs are quite rare. I think real ENTPs are pretty rare as well, But I encounter a few of them. I've met some of them. INFJ are prone to neuroticism, toxicity, and sadness. Yeah, well, it's like we all have our problems. I'm prone towards something. I don't even know what it is exactly, but it's not a good thing. What did I do? Arthur Arcturus on type, please? Sure, I'll look it up. I'll find it. Did he still make videos? I remember him from a long time ago, but I don't remember him recently.
We're not in bed. You need a ride home? Okay. Bye.
Yeah. You gotta listen to Raul Diego. He explains that, like Hambone, he understands that intuitives are 0.00002% of the population, just so rare. And how would you describe what you're prone to? What am I prone to? Oh, right. I'm prone to some kind of dry despair. Raul, he's got a canvas back there, okay? It's not the one with the little green guy on it. That's another canvas. I'm just leaning against it, but there's two canvases there. The white one is ready for Raul to take on the project. I am prone to being sort of an ass. That's true. I'm prone to being lots of things that other people might accuse me of being, but I'm talking about like my internal existential stuff. I'm definitely prone to existential terror, and it happens when I get a sense of a lot of time. Hi Henry. A lot of time thinking about how things have changed when I wasn't looking. I wasn't paying attention to what's going on, and now people the old neighborhood where I haven't been in a while has changed, or something like that. That kind of thing causes me a lot of existential terror. This sense that important things that I'm not paying attention to are evolving while I'm not paying attention to them. So I'm prone to that. Hello from France, Mr. Famous Mr. Hello, Henry. Hi, Henry from the Netherlands. Oh, Power Red Bull, you're from the Netherlands? I thought you were an American. Let's see. We gotta go get Ruben. All right, I gotta end this live stream. We gotta go pick up Ruben, and this is a good time to end it. I've enjoyed talking with you all, but I'm guilty of cutting some semantic corners in order to make a definition fit the chat character. I just leave a comment and I'll give a better description of the phenomenon. Okay. That sounds fair, person. PRB's English is very good. Yeah, I think he's American. Amphibious learning cardinal functions because they've got
Bye, Tyler.
other things to do, important things to do. So anyway, thanks a lot for being here, everybody, and I'll see you later. I got to go pick up Ruben.